What matters to you?
Welcome back. On our book review feature this morning, we put the spotlight on a book that has been described as a part adventure, part travel and part autobiographical novel. I'm talking about Erica Terblanche's recent read titled Run for the Love of Life. And in this book, Erica shares an intimate story about how she managed to achieve extraordinary success in extreme distance running across some of the world's harshest and most majestic landscapes. Erica Terblanche joins us now on Zoom to discuss this book further. Erica, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning. It's very nice to see you, Sambiwe.
And good to have you on the show this morning. Erica, what propelled you to detail and share your journey through this book?
You know, Sambiwe, if one has spent so much time running in these extraordinary landscapes in the world, it is such a privilege and a gift. And, you know, at the edge of endurance, one learns a great deal. And I felt very compelled now, I've just turned 50, and I felt compelled to share it with the world, all these lessons that I've learned. And really, more than anything else, to inspire people to get off the couch and to start running or to start some form of exercise because it makes a fundamental difference to the quality of one's life. And, you know, that's why at first I started writing the book and I thought it was just going to be a fun read.
Yeah.
But during the process of writing it, I discovered that there was a lot more to be given to people in the form of inspiration.
And in addition to that, and a whole lot more to learn in this particular journey and in this book. And this book masterfully reframes the challenges that you encountered both on the trail and in life in general. Tell us more about these challenges.
Yeah, so, you know, Sambiwe, running is not just putting one foot in front of the other.
Sure.
It's much more than just sport. Because running is a discipline. It's a way of being in the world. And when you have something that you are very disciplined about and that you show up for day after day, whether the weather is good or not good, this discipline and this character that you build through a particular activity and something that you commit yourself to, this discipline spills over into the rest of your life. And it helps you to overcome difficulties and it helps you to overcome challenges in life because, you know, every time that you lace up your shoes and every time that you show up early in the morning to go for a run, you building a muscle of resilience and of mental strength. And that really helps one to cope with other challenges in life. I mean, I can talk a lot more, but it's all in the book.
And you are an accomplished endurance runner and adventure racer. Just take us through how this journey began for you.
Yeah. So, Sambiwe, I, at 30 years old, was an avid nature enthusiast. I hiked a lot, but there was not a semblance of an athlete in me. I was working very, very long hours in corporate. Now and again went to gym a little bit. And then a friend of mine dealed me to come and run with a half marathon. And at that point, really, I was just dabbling in running. And once I tasted that, I was completely hooked by how extraordinary it felt to run. And then I started doing a sport called adventure racing. So I just skipped the whole running thing and went straight to extreme endurance sport. And so loved it and actually managed to, over 5 years, represent South Africa at the World Championship in New Zealand. So went to the top of the sport from being not an athlete at all.
And in the book, Erica, you share some of the raw moments that shaped your life and your career. Speak to us about some of these central moments. And in the same breath, you can talk to us about some of the most memorable exotic races that you share with the readers in this book.
Sure, Sambiwe, now you're asking me to distill 50 years of life. And about 20 years of endurance racing and to pick the top.
Be my guest. Be my guest.
I'm going to do my best. But what I do have to say is that all of us, it's the human journey that things go wrong. Suffering is as much a part of life as is joy. And in the book, I don't shy away from sharing with my readers the worst moments in my life and things that went wrong in my childhood, that went wrong in adulthood, and the normal human struggles that all of us face. And in that, readers have been able to come alongside me and, in my trauma and in my struggles, identifying with me and finding their own parallels. That's what people say when they read the book, is that there's a feeling that I'm alongside them in their own struggles and in their own journey, and helping them to reframe even the worst of things in a way that, and I don't mean to belittle struggle, but to reframe things in a way that makes it more manageable, and in fact that helps us to grow despite the deep pain of it. So I would say that about the suffering rather than going to any one particular episode. And then you asked which is my most memorable or hardest or toughest race. Sure, that's a big question. But some
it's okay.
I would say the races that require one to stay in when you've kind of given up. Those are the hardest, And in the book, I say over and over again that in order to excel, in order to really do well, the very first step is that your heart has to be in it. And if your heart is in it, you can then bring the rest of yourself fully to the task.
Sure.
But the races that were hardest for me were the ones where I didn't have the heart to show up.
Erica, I am a struggling runner myself, definitely very far from where you are today. But one thing I can tell you is that running is so therapeutic. If you do it in the morning, you have an absolutely beautiful day, or in the evening, you have a beautiful night's sleep. And it really is, sets the tone for a great day. And perhaps one of your lifelong quests is to, sort of determine how we can, over time, shape and mold ourselves to become the best that we can possibly be. Tell us more about this and how and why it is so important to you.
Yeah. So Simpiwe, for all of my life, I've been very curious about, we have one precious life. And I've been very curious about how do we make the very best of our life. So I did a degree in psychology. I did a master's degree in positive psychology, which is the science of 0 to 10 of the flourishing life. And even in my running, and whether it's 5Ks or 10Ks or 3Ks, whether you walk it, whether you run it, my quest has always been, how can we become the very best version of ourselves? And as you just said exactly now, if you go for a run in the morning, you just show up very differently in your life.
Sure.
You sit a bit taller, you feel a bit more energetic.
I know.
And that is very much, I always say to people, we've got to get the chassis right. And the chassis is good eating, proper nutrition, good sleeping, regular exercise, beneficial breathing techniques. Because if the chassis works, then, the engine can do its work. But if you can't get the basics right, even the best engine and the best intention won't get you very far. So it's been a quest all my life, whether in the physical, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, to try and see where the boundary is and where I can continuously improve beyond that. Standing on the shoulders of science, standing on the shoulders of the philosophers, and of course, I have faith.
Yeah.
So all these modalities to make a good life.
Indeed, Erica, and your story is so inspirational, I must say. And how are you hoping it will impact its readers, especially when it comes to embracing life and the challenges that come with it?
Yeah. So, Simpiwe, the way that I've written the book, because I've been so brutally honest about my own challenges, I am really hoping that people will get inspiration from it. First of all, to not feel themselves the victim, but to feel some agency in their life. And to really, at a more rudimentary level, get people off the couch. So at the very end of the book, I provide a QR code where people can go and download basically 20 years of intellectual property of the best tips and techniques for running.
That is
And
so
I built that
cool.
yeah, absolutely, and it's completely for free because it's my mission in life to give back some of the great joy I've had from
Yeah.
running. So there's a couch to 3K program, there's a couch to 5K program, there's a couch to 10K program, and you can join the Thrive Run Club on Facebook. It's a community that will help you along on the journey. And my wish and dream is that for people who've never run before, or for people who want to improve their 3-kilometer practice, or their 10-kilometer practice, or even their 100-kilometer practice, that they will come to my book, read it, be inspired, and download the program and join the Thrive Run Club. And, you know, so far a lot of people have joined from all over the world, from Italy, from Australia. But my heart is really for South Africa, Simpiwe, because I also know how running uplifts one, no matter one's circumstances, and how it helps one to overcome difficult life circumstances. So I'm really hoping that these run clubs will take off all across South Africa, and especially in areas where people have very little. I really believe running could make such a difference if we can inspire people to get out on the road and run towards their best life, you know?
Erica, great chatting to you. Thank you so much for joining us. And I quite like what you said earlier on, that running is not just about putting one leg ahead of each other, but it's a discipline. And this is one mantra as a struggling runner myself that I'll be carrying with me for years to come. Great chatting to you, Erica, and all the best.
Thank you so much, Simpiwe. It was such a pleasure to meet you in the flesh.
Great stuff. Thank you. Well, that's our Saturday morning guest author, Erica Terblanche, and we've been speaking to her about a newly released book titled Run for the Love of Life.